Hey Japeechen Scouters, Justin here. I didn't think we had a meeting planned today, did we? Either way, I'm so excited that you're here. As you can see behind me, I've spent all day working on our treehouse, and I'd love to show you how I got started. We won't need these anymore. To construct the first beam of our treehouse, I used two separate lashings. In the middle, I used a round lashing to take two poles and make them long enough to fit between the two trees. And on either end, I used two separate square lashings to bind that pole to the trees. Today, I thought it would just be so much fun to teach all of you the square lashing. If you've been following along in your scout book, you can turn to page 374. If not, you can follow me. I'll go real slow. Just like the tripod lashing that we made yesterday, our square lashing is going to both begin and end with a clove hitch. Do you remember the clove hitch? I sure hope you do. But if not, let's practice it once more. Let's get out the rope tying Demonstration-O-Matic 5000 and our piece of string. To begin the clove hitch, let's work with one end and place it over top of our pole. Let's take that same end, bring it back around a second time, cross it over itself and make an X. Then, let's take that same end and bring it around a third time. Let's take our pinching fingers, pinch that X, and slide the tail right underneath, pulling it very tight. There we go. That's a perfect clove hitch. Moving on, let's begin the square lashing. To start any lashing project, you'll need two things. You'll need some rope, and you'll need some poles. If yours are pre-shrunk, all the better. For the square lashing, we're going to talk about two separate poles. One pole will be vertical. The second pole will be horizontal. Let's start with the vertical pole and tie a clove hitch around it. Let's begin by taking one end, wrapping it around the pole, around a second time, and the third time, let's take our end and tuck it right under the X we made. Sometimes this part is very tricky. There we go. Great. Now, let's take our horizontal pole, place it over top of the clove hitch we made, and begin our wraps. To begin our wraps, we're going to go over the horizontal pole, behind the vertical pole on top, over top of the horizontal pole, behind the vertical pole underneath our clove hitch, and we're going to do that 3 times. We're going to go over, behind, over, behind, over, behind, and over, and behind. There we go. Let's pull that very tight. That completes the wrappings of our square lashing. Now let's move on to the frappings. To start the frappings, let's take our string and go over, but instead of going behind, let's go in between. I'm going to go in between the vertical and horizontal pole, and I'm going to pull it very tight. Then I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to go around in between the two poles and pull it very, very, very tight. Then to end, I'm going to tie a second clove hitch on the horizontal beam. I'm going to come around, make an X, around a third time, and I'm going to stick the tail right inside that X we made. Again, this part can be very tricky. And I'm going to pull it very tight. There we go. That's a perfect square lashing. As we said in our first video about lashings, you can tie the square lashing in the middle of two poles to make a cross, or, like on our treehouse, you can tie it on the ends of two poles to make a box. I hope you had fun today learning the square lashing. Tomorrow, we'll be back and we'll work on the round lashing. Thanks so much, and as we've said the past few days, for this next month while we're at home, remember to stay safe and stay scouting.